This right here, and something that you spoke of early on, you know, in this conversation, that was about perception and imagery. Okay, this is something. Again, I want to tap into your consciousness on this right here. But it seems like, you know, with African Americans, we'll go through certain phases, and all of a sudden, people become conscious, and they start becoming more African, more about let's doing things and let's reconnect. And it seems like there's a larger force or someone like in the background that able to look and they can make this observation. What they will do is come back right when the movement kind of starts and they superimpose Eurocentric values, fashion, all of these things. You understand what I'm saying? And it thwarts the movement. Right. You know, it seems like every time this is where
if somebody is making $1.6 trillion off of you a year, would you give it up?
No, I wouldn't.
That's what we're talking about here.
Gotcha.
We're spending $1.2 to $3 trillion with these other communities, primarily the European communities. And at the end of the day, the Arab stores getting their produce from the Europeans. At the end of the day, the Chinese getting much of their produce from the Europeans. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, the Koreans, the others, they're getting much either from the Europeans or other Asians, all right? Yeah. And we're talking about taking that money now and circulating it, aggregating, as Claude Anderson says, in the Black community.
Right.
They don't want that to happen. Because if that happens, the Black community will enjoy that wealth, and they won't. Right now, they're enjoying the wealth of the Black community without making any compensations or contributions to the Black community, except to extract the wealth. And if we begin to redirect that wealth, buying Black, carrying out the kind of Buy Black campaigns that make sense, building Black, owning Black, controlling the wealth of building and ownership of real estate. And one said, well, they got all the real estate, they won't sell. Stop shopping and see how quickly they'll sell. Stop shopping with them and see how quickly they will sell. If you're not giving them your money, they're not getting any money because they cannot go in any of the white communities and open up these facilities, right? So we have to be very clear. Food, clothing, shelter, safety, the primary motivation for all human efforts to provide capital. We must get control of economic, politics, and culture where we live. To do that, we must have a plan to get control of land, labor, and resources. And in the process of doing that, we have to use Claude Anderson's concept of aggregating the Black dollar.
That's right.
But because of the negative socialization and the media system that runs the negative propaganda to devalue things African and overvalue things non-African, then we have to come up with a way to counter that narrative.
Yes, and it's got to be done on
a deep tell you how we do that. We need to open after schools in our community that all of us children should go to an after school where they learn Black history, where they learn sciences, then they learn math. And we should open Sunday schools after the church where they learn science, they learn history, they learn math. And people say, well, we don't have the facilities. Every community have multiple churches.
They got them all over the place.
That is the facility where all the after school activities should take place. Unless the church want to continue to see themselves as a colonial and a slave, mind altering for the negative behavior of Black people institution, that's going to end up dying out because they've been a partner with the genocide, psychologically, spiritually, culturally, and economically of their own people for now almost a century. The Black church, which once was a liberating instrument, after the 50s, and especially particularly after the 60s, was turned into a death instrument for the Black community.
mm. Good. Elaborate on that just a little bit. The last statement you made.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
As a liberating instrument, when we got out of slavery, we had no sanctuary. Sanctuary meaning we had no other country who was going to help us except Haiti, and they destroyed Haiti's ability to help us.
That's right.
And so we had no sanctuary. No country on Africa was in position to help us. No white community would help us unless they could use us. The one thing they would let us have was the church. So the church became the sanctuary, along with the fraternal organization, Prince Hall Freemasons, the Odd Fellows, the Knights of Pythias, the Daughters of Ruth, the Eastern Stars. This is before we get college sororities and fraternities.
Okay.
This is before the Boule. This is after slavery between 1865 and 1920.
Okay.
And these institutions become the sanctuaries. Okay. And this is where we went to the churches and to the Masonic lodges to learn bookkeeping, house cleaning, housekeeping, house painting, plumbing. That was the university for the Black Americans. It was those fraternities and sororities.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was the continuing education modem for the Black community right up to the 20th century, for the most part. And the Black church was that instrument that protect and politically fought for the Black community. But after the successes into the 1960s that saw the changes of the laws for the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act and so forth, a movement came to crush the Black church as a positive socializing instrument.
Okay.
And so you began to see a Black church that began to teach white theology rather than Black Christianity. And people said, but what do you mean by Black Christianity? Well, the Christianity they had was white Christianity, because the Christian church was not founded in Europe.
No.
The first Christian church is in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
The second is in Ethiopia and in what is now Syria. And then 1,000 years after that, you get the Catholic Church, and 500 years of that, you get Martin Luther, and you get the Protestant churches and so forth. So let's know history. It'll erase the white man's mystery, and you know somebody has bamboozled you.
We've been bamboozled big time. Yes.
Okay. And so after what you began to see in the Black church, up into the 1960s, most of Black preachers either come from Black seminaries or Black colleges, or grew up in the Black community and grew up through the church. But what you start seeing after the 1960s is Black preachers coming from white theological institutions. And the Black church began to move away from social activism, community politics, Black institution building, into just a worship hall. And now they started making these big mega worship halls.
Yes.
But the white church now, during the same period, is opening strip malls and shopping malls.
Right.
To employ their people.
Yes.
We're building mega churches with bigger organs and bigger choirs and bigger homes for the preachers and road boys. And look at the trend.
I know. Yeah.
And the Black church, which is making billions, all right, is not banking that money with Black banks anymore. Black banks are now closing because the Black churches is putting the billions of dollars they're making from the poor Black people into white banks, which undermine economically the Black community from top to bottom. And I could go on, but Howard Cruz addresses nicely and plural but equal. You know.
Okay, got you.
So it's about socialization. It's about your values, interests, and principles. And if you get your values, interests, and principle from your thief and your murderer and your rapist, then your value, interest, and principle will make you a thief and a murderer and a rapist of yourself.
That's right.
Your kind.
That is what, that realization is very much needed. It's like, the people can't see that. But that is so true, Professor Small. Yeah. you're talking about language, and let me got one other. I want to make this statement before we get off, and just to get your perspective on it. A few years ago, I won't say the country, but I was with a person who was campaigning to become president of a country that's in Africa. He had a cousin. His cousin grew up in that country, but I had gone to college and everything here in the United States and had learned our system very well. It was spoke the English language very, very well. And he seemed to be a very bright person. And, one thing he said to me, he was like, when you guys going to wake up? He said, come on. He said, everybody's coming over and enjoying the wealth and making things happen. He said, but you guys still sleep, speaking of the African-American community. So what he did is he tasked me with appealing to the CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus, getting them together and say, why don't you use your platform to attract high net worth African Americans, the celebrities, the athletes, all these people who make megabucks. Said, get them because they got the drawing power. They can attract these people. And he said, once we schedule a big meeting, he said, not only will I have this person who's running for president, he said, but I'll get a few other leaders on this from the African continent to come over, and we'll have a roundtable discussion, and we'll start to lay out, strategies as to how we can start to look at serious economic development on both sides. Okay, I thought it was very, very powerful. However, personally, the part I don't like is the political side. Okay, getting the politics involved at this level. I understand the need for the politics, but at this particular level, I would love to accomplish what he wanted me to do, but would rather use other type figures that have the drawing power.
But what he asked you to do, Black folks in America have done over and over. That's an arrogance and a disrespect on his part, because he doesn't know our history. Mm-hmm. Why do you think we ended up with the Black Caucus?
Gotcha.
The Committee on Africa, who do you think formed it? Mm-hmm. And all of the other instruments that's coming out of the U.S. Congress, the Justice Department, State Department, dealing with Africa was formed by radical African Americans.
Okay, all right.
The brothers and sisters from the continent of Africa constantly like to look at the unemployed and the unemployable, which makes up 3% of our population, and not look at the 90-some% of the thriving Black American population. Because if you do that, you'll see yourself and the conditions of people at home, where you've got nearly 90% that's not progressing. Right. And you've got 5 to 10% that is. So if you want to look at my community by a young, unfortunate junkie that just got out of prison or out of jail, and use that to govern my situation, and not look at the PhD from Morehouse, Howard, Meharry, AT&T, et cetera, that's working in corporate America, running America. When other Blacks and other people of color come from other countries, they want to talk to us like we're not Americans. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we fall for that. No, we've got to be able to do a critique of America, as we've always done, a transformation and a growth of America, and yet still be Americans. And what others do in this conversation that they engage in is pretend that we are not Americans. But at the same time, they're doing everything to become Americans, but they pretend that we're not Americans. And sometimes we fall into that trap, behaving like we're not. I'm an American. Let me tell you on a case.
Nationality, right.
That I had to really, beyond nationality.
Okay.
I was in Ghana. I was in the northern region, and I had been going up there for a while with my group. And after about 3 years, the Peace Corps showed up, the CIA, because they needed to know, what are these Black Americans doing up in the northern region? Nobody goes up into the northern region. And this dude is coming up in the northern region, talking all this Black nationalism and Black unity. So all of a sudden, I get up to the northern region, and the Peace Corps is there, and they set up little drama groups to talk about slavery. And I'm laughing like, are you out of your friggin' mind? And the poor kids, they didn't know nothing about slavery. So, and then they set up little markers marking the path where the enslaved Africans had walked. We walked that same path For the last 3 years, we didn't have to set up little markers and banners, but now you want to act like you've come and taught the people something, and they think you're somebody. And so we go up on the hill at Pega, but it's this big rock where they would capture us and keep us on this hill until the enslavers come to take us to the shore. And they were on the hill because you could see for miles and miles around anybody coming to rescue the people. But there was a particular rock up there that people could play like a big drum.
Okay.
There's a young man showing us this, and this white woman come up and says, "Shut your mouth now. Shut you don't know what this is. I will tell them." And I said, "No, you won't. This young man, this is his country, this is his neighborhood, this is his culture. He will tell my people." And she said, "No, she don't." I said, "If you open your mouth again, I will throw you off the mountain."
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes, and I would have thrown her off the mountain. And so she ran, came back with the police and the mayor. But when the police and the mayor saw it was me, they go like, yo, no, you don't want to mess with that. So later that day, we having a big Durbar. Durbar is a big gathering with the chiefs and everybody. And so the regional minister and the CIA people are sitting over there, and they're trying to make nice with me and Dr. Jeffries and our group sitting over here. And one even sent a note and said they would love to have a meeting with me. But at any rate, the regional minister got up and says, and they had brought a tractor. It says, "You Black Americans, you all been coming and you just visiting and talking about slavery, but these people have brought us a tractor from America," and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
I go like, that's my tax money that bought that tractor.
Right.
From America. The white people didn't buy you that tractor. They bought you that tractor with the Black people's tax money. That's my tractor.
Right.
They're just the government instrument that gave you the tractor because you don't understand the relationship.
I like that.
Because you would prefer not understanding. I'm an American.
Right.
That's my geopolitical institution. I'm an African. That's my race. You see? And so what you want to do is undermine me as an African by denying the 400 years that I evolved citizen-wise as an American, because that leaves you an opening now to be a broker between me and my nation state. I don't need a broker. You need a broker. Because I'm the only one that can keep this colonizer up off of your butt.
Right.
Because you can't. I'm the only one that can keep this imperialist in check because you can't. So we have to have a real discussion when brothers come with that kind of stuff, because the Black caucus and Black people investing money in the Black community, this is going on because white media don't project it. Blacks have been meeting with the people from the continent of Africa from the days of Booker T. Washington, when he held his conference on the African world. This is pre-Marcus Garvey.
Right.
And people came from Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, Malawi, to Tuskegee University to this conference in the 1900s. Then it's W.B. Du Bois that would move into the big first Pan-African conference in the UK. And Booker T. Washington got on a ship and went over there with him and helped him finance it and came back here and used the Tuskegee mission to help promote it. And some of his closest comrades were the brothers that founded the ANC that produces Nelson Mandela.
Check it out. And
the leaders of the movement in Malawi and Mozambique. So we need to know history. Don't play with Brother Small.
Right.
History will erase the mystery.
That mystery.
Do my black magic. So we weren't new at that. He was right. We need to put more emphasis on that. But don't marginalize me in my own country, like, oh, you're here with all this wealth and you're doing nothing. Then how did I get to spend $1 trillion?
Right.
With people who I earnestly spend my money with, even though they don't look like me, because I think they're going to be good citizens and hire me and invest in my community, but they never do.
Gotcha.
So now it's time for me to take my money back and let him pack his bag and sell me that store cheaply and leave my neighborhood.
Gotcha. Very well stated. Very well stated. And I'll tell you, I'm going to bring this up. This is one of the reasons.
Yes. Where did that put?
This book. This is one of the reasons it's just starting. Oh, check you out.
Okay.
There you go. There you go. But to start to reverse the psyche of our people, I said, let me do what I can do. And even in addition to the book, I do a coaching program. Okay. I'm in the process of acquiring a building in Baltimore where I'm going to be set up because Baltimore does need some help. You understand? And I'll just put it like this. I want to continue to collaborate with you, people like you. Anything that I can do, believe me, just give a call. And likewise, I would like to, in some future date, even though, we blew it today, the station, I had nothing to do with that, and the people didn't. It just didn't happen. They didn't have technology together. But in the future, if you have 90 minutes, even an hour, to make yourself available, I definitely want to bring you back to be on their radio broadcast.
I would be happy because we must develop the economics of the Black community, but don't sleep it.
Yes.
Go and do the statistics and see how many new Black businesses have opened in America in the last 10 years, and you will be shocked at the number.
I'm quite aware, and I know a big percentage of them are African-American females. And, another thing, like when they was talking about the Nigerian being the most educated people, one thing that deserves being known is the fact that African-American females today have passed all of the sectors in attaining degrees.
Right. But you can't play with numbers and statistics. How many Nigerians live in America?
Not that many.
Right. So you're going to take that percentage who have acquired PhD and try to posit that percentage, besides the percentage of African Americans with PhD, even though the African Americans have hundreds and hundreds more PhDs than you do, then you're playing a little sight game, and white people play those games. And then sometimes Black people from here and home fall for those games. And so we need to be better than that, okay? Because when we left Africa, there was no Nigeria. No. There was no Ghana. Right. There was no Sierra Leone. There was no Liberia. The only nation in Africa when we left was Egypt and Ethiopia. Okay? There were other African kingdoms which was being conquered by the Europeans and made into false nation states after the Berlin Conference of 1884. And so let's get history straight, erase the history, erases the mystery, let you work your Black magic. Right. Africans from the continent, the recent, all Africans, including you and I, are from the continent. The recent voluntary immigrants from the continent who have abandoned their homes for many reasons, economic, political, and others. Don't confuse who you are with me, who did not abandon my Africa. I did not leave my home. My stool and my skin had better be in check, and my land when I come to get it. I ain't hearing nothing else. If you want to talk international legal protocols, we could go there, but we don't want to go there. We just want to love each other and be family.
There you go.
You tell me, so don't worry about your stool, we've kept it for you. Don't worry about your land, we've kept it for you. Don't worry about your skin, we've kept it for you. And then I will say, come to me in America, and I will put my blanket of protection over you so you can achieve whatever you want. Because that's what we've done. Except you don't respect the fact that we fought this bloody war with the most powerful white institution in the world to give you an opportunity to achieve what you have. Because you articulate how you see me, and you can't see me. I'm the wealthiest African in the world, the most educated African population in the world, one of the most powerful African population in the world. And you want to see me by my junkie? Well, your junkies fill your prisons. The prisons in Ghana are full with Black people. Prisons in Nigeria are full of Black people. Let's not play.
Right.
Let's not play. Let's say we need to change the institutional constructs that don't allow us to provide food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security, job security, industrial security, industry development for our people. Let's bring the forces of the early diaspora and the new diaspora together so we can go and help our motherland to be the Africa we want her to be and to build the future we want her to see.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Yes. Well, I'll tell you, Professor Small, it's been a pleasure having you here. I won't hold you up any longer, but it's just been a pleasure. And I look forward to our next conversation, our next engagement.
And you and I will be meeting soon on some other issues.
Sure, so not a problem. I'm available whenever. All right, very good.
Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings. Talk to you later.
Get